A Brazilian baby girl named Isabella Pereira de Jesus became a social media sensation even without trying. She took the internet by storm when she was caught doing something incredible to her doctor only a few seconds after she was born. In the sterile hospital room, Diane clutched the edges of the hospital bed, her face contorted with pain. Sweat glistened on her forehead as the clock on the wall seemed to tick slower with each passing second. Her husband, Logan, smiled nervously as he held her hand whilst whispering words of encouragement. Diane had long prepared for this moment, but now that it was here, it seemed as if everything would go wrong. Her labor wasn't progressing as expected. The room buzzed with urgency as doctors hurriedly set up a drip to induce labor. They were tense as they monitored the baby's heart rate. Minutes later, panic set in as the monitor revealed the heart rate was dropping, moving. The room transformed into a flurry of controlled chaos. Knowing time was of the essence, the doctors decided to immediately deliver the baby through an emergency C-section. Within moments, Diane was wheeled away. Inside the operating theater, the medical team worked swiftly to prepare Diane for an emergency C-section. Logan, clad in scrubs, stood anxiously beside her, his eyes reflecting a mix of fear and hope. As the incision was made, an eerie silence filled the room. Time seemed to hold as the baby was delicately lifted into the world. But something was wrong. There was no triumphant cry, no reassuring sound of a newborn taking its first breath. The baby lay limp, as if lifeless. Logan's heart sank as he watched the medical team spring into action. Desperately, the doctors began to administer life-saving measures. Logan's eyes blurred with tears as he urged his silent daughter to cry, "Way. Do something. Please. Make her cry." Logan pleaded with the doctors, his voice a mix of anguish and determination. Faced with the most critical of moments, the staff refused to yield to despair. Dr. Michael took charge and continued the battle against time. With every ounce of strength, he delivered measured taps to the baby's back, desperately attempting to get little Isabella to cry. However, the room only echoed with a haunting silence, broken only by the rhythmic beats of the doctor's efforts. As minutes flew past, some of the doctors began to give up. But Dr. Michael, undeterred, continued tapping the baby. Although none of them admitted it, they were scared that they would lose the baby. It didn't seem as if she stood a chance. Everyone was on the brink of despair, but finally, a soft whimper broke through the silence. It was a fragile cry, like the first notes of a symphony, now filled with hope. Dr. Michael continued massaging the baby's back. He went harder this time around. His efforts paid off minutes later, when Isabella began crying loudly. Relief washed over the room as the baby's cry grew stronger, filling it with the sweet sound of life. Diane, still on the operating table, caught a glimpse of her newborn daughter, and tears of joy streamed down her face. Logan was also overwhelmed with emotion as he cradled their miracle in his arms. Everyone in the theater was relieved. The cry meant that the baby's lungs were now in perfect working condition. But when the medics thought that the storm was over, they suddenly noticed a change in Diane's condition. She suddenly started having shortness of breath. Prompt assessment by the doctors showed that blood clot had traveled into her lungs, leading to pulmonary embolism. She was quickly given blood thinners, mostly heparin and warfarin, but her condition didn't get any better, so the experienced doctors immediately decided to administer her thrombolytic therapy. In the meantime, other doctors worked on the exhausted mother and stitched her up. Soon enough, Diane's condition became stable, much to the sheer relief of Logan. He had been prancing up and down the room, fervently praying for his wife's recovery ever since. Next to him, a photographer the couple had invited into the room to document the birth was checking his shots. Rodrigo Kunstmann was an expert in infant photo shoots, and had been hired to make sure Isabella's birth would forever be memorable. Isabella was the first child of Diane de Jesus Barbosa and her husband. The couple had been involuntarily childless for a couple of years. They had tried all possible means within their power to conceive, but all to no avail. After 4 years, the situation still remained the same, and the weight began to take a toll on the couple. They began having arguments over the slightest reason. The situation reached a peak when they had a nasty fight about the best fertility treatment to make use of. Hence, they decided to spend some time away from each other. Within this period, they reflected on their actions, smashed personal goals, and learned to appreciate each other in more ways. The couple was separated for a year. When they finally got back together, they went on a trip to the Maldives. And a month after they returned from the trip, their dream finally came to pass. Diane had noticed that she'd missed her period, however, she didn't want to raise her hopes. In the past, she had missed her monthly flow a few times, but it had turned out to be as a result of stress and not pregnancy. Diane had waited 2 months before she took a home pregnancy test, and even when the test came out positive, she didn't believe it. The next day, she went to the hospital for a scan, and the result came back positive. She was truly pregnant when she eventually broke the news to her husband. He was beside himself with joy. Together the couple began going for antenatals. Due to Diane's petite stature at 4 feet 9 inches, the medical professionals were slightly worried that the pregnancy might be challenging for her. The doctor suggested exercises to prepare her body and recommended helpful books. When her husband learned about the concerns, he became determined to ensure Diane and the baby stayed healthy. Taking the initiative as an expectant father, he read the books with her, supported her in doing exercises, and even joined in occasionally, bringing laughter to the process. In the 6th month of the pregnancy, Brazilian photographer Rodrigo Kunstmann, who's renowned for taking childbirth photographs, approached Diane for her approval to capture her delivery moment. The expectant mother had no qualms whatsoever about Rodrigo's proposals, and was actually happy to have this special moment forever etched on film. Once Isabella was out of her mom's womb, Rodrigo would be right there to capture the baby girl's first seconds on Earth. Little did she know at that moment that agreeing to Rodrigo's proposal would turn her new baby into an internet sensation mere seconds after her birth. The name Isabella was decided shortly after the gender reveal. Diane had decided to send the info to her sister so she could plan a party for them, and when the family found out they were expecting a baby girl, they all started buying tons of pink accessories. Everybody was looking forward to meeting little Isabella, and thankfully the pregnancy progressed as smoothly as possible. That is, until the delivery day, when things almost went out of hand. Fortunately, the doctors were able to handle the situation. Little Isabella needed to be kept under close watch for a week before she was deemed out of danger. The blood clot had dissolved thanks to the medicines, and her circulation was working perfectly. Diane and the baby stayed a few more days at the hospital before they were eventually discharged. A week later, the photographer forwarded all the pictures he had taken to the couple. There were so many, and Diane and Logan wanted to go through every one of them. So they decided to go over them over the weekend, when they would both be free. The couple sat at the dining table, checking each picture and laughing at the odd faces both of them had pulled. Diane was a little embarrassed at the sight of her disheveled hair, sweaty forehead and bulging eyes, but she couldn't be prouder of the body that had allowed her to bring her precious daughter into the world. And besides, her husband hadn't exactly been the picture of beauty and stoicness. The man had looked ready to faint throughout the entire ordeal, and the photos showed it. The photographer had been considerate enough not to shoot while the doctors were working on the baby right after birth. In the silence, the click of his camera would have been a terrible soundtrack to the scariest moment of their lives. Then Isabella had started crying, and Rodrigo had captured the undiluted joy and relief in her parents' expressions. Diane and her husband went over them with tears in their eyes before moving on to the photos of their precious little girl. Isabella had been pale and wrinkly at birth, and since she had been born via emergency C-section after several hours of labor, her tiny body wasn't exactly photogenic when she first entered the world. But to her parents, she was still the most beautiful thing that ever walked the earth. They had a few more pictures left when one particular one caught their attention. It was an iconic picture of their little princess frowning at the doctors. Rodrigo had taken this picture just a few seconds after Dr. Michael got baby Isabella to cry. It was as if she was telling the doctors, "You shouldn't have forced me to cry, that I'll only cry when I want to." Diane and Logan knew they had to share this picture with the world at once. The photo immediately went viral on the internet, spreading joy and laughter far and wide. Social media users predictably went gaga over the pictures, and the reactions and comments came in fast. Many joked that the baby wasn't quite ready to come into the world, or that she was still enjoying the warmth of her mama's belly only to be pulled out against her will. One commenter said, "Poor Munchkin. She's only been on the planet for a few minutes and she's already had enough. Not only the frown, look at those eyes. If looks could kill, they're like daggers," another one commented. A fourth noted, "The look of reincarnation. Oh no, not this place again." The reactions on social media to Isabella's hilarious facial expressions at birth were so massive that Rodrigo was pleased with himself for a job well done. According to his statements, the moment only lasted less than a couple of seconds and he had to be very attentive to capture an iconic image like this. He is renowned for capturing funny birth moments on camera, but Isabella's was the only one that went viral, Rodrigo confessed. When he was once asked about his obsession with capturing childbirth on camera in an interview, Rodrigo simply told Daily Mail, "Childbirth is a unique moment and deserves to be recorded." Speaking on how the viral picture changed his life, he told the Evening Standard, "I feel like a blessed person. I never imagined that a single photo could change my life and career. I've been a photographer for 11 years. I hope I can inspire others to never give up on their dreams. God's plans will always be fulfilled." As for Isabella's mom, she was proud of her baby's iconic and hilarious facial expressions at birth. Diane said that the snaps show how brave her baby girl already is. "My baby was born courageous," she told popular Brazilian news outlet G1. "Her picture's a meme already. She always wrinkles her forehead when changing diapers and nursing." Isabella was supposed to be born on the 20th, but she chose her day, already showing her personality, the clearly proud mom added. So why exactly did baby Isabella frown shortly after she was born? According to medical experts, babies might frown or display facial expressions shortly after birth due to various factors, such as adjusting to the new environment, exposure to light, or the sensations of being handled. In Isabella's case, her frown is definitely a reaction to the way the doctors handled her just to get her to cry. How hilarious. Today, Isabella is 4 and medically sound, both physically and mentally. Her hilarious facial expressions been turned into memes by her thousands of social media fans. She also reportedly loves dancing, acting, and showing off different poses on her various social media platforms, which her mom handles for her. Needless to say that the girl with the weird viral glare at the medics is a star in the making. So don't be surprised to see her as a big-named actress, singer, model, or a big social media influencer in no distant time. What a funny anecdote. What do you think about Isabella's frown? Would you like to have a photographer inside your birthing room? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.